Have you ever just looked around at how we work and thought, this feels old? I mean, technology is blasting into the future, but the way we actually structure our companies, it feels like it's stuck in the past. Well, you're not wrong. The internet has totally rewritten the rules for just about every industry, but our management playbooks have barely changed. So let's get into why that's a huge problem and what the solution might look like.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? While technology is out there sprinting, changing everything overnight, the way we manage our businesses, well, it's crawling along. It's this massive gap that's forcing us to completely rethink how we organize ourselves to get anything done.
All right, so to really get where we're going, we've got to first understand where we've been. Let's take a quick look at that traditional management model, the one that's been the default for, the last 100 years?
When you picture a classic company, you probably see a pyramid, right? Well, that structure is basically a hand-me-down from the military. It's a command and control system, a super rigid, top-down chain of command. And look, it was designed for a reason, to be incredibly efficient in a world that was stable and predictable. The problem is, our world isn't really stable or predictable anymore, is it?
And here's where it gets really fascinating. There's this fundamental conflict baked right into the system's DNA. The company, of course, wants to maximize its profits. Makes sense. But it expects its employees to basically work against their own self-interest, to give it their all for a salary that's fixed. This creates this constant, low-level tug-of-war between the two sides.
And that built-in tension, it leads directly to all these problems we know so well. The whole organization becomes rigid. It gets clogged up with bureaucracy and red tape. It can't react when something unexpected happens. And because of that core conflict, those old-school carrot and stick incentives, they just don't work that well anymore. The model is, by its very design, fragile.
So what broke the model? Well, you already know the answer. It was the internet. That stable, predictable world that command and control was built for, poof, it's gone. The internet just didn't give us email and websites. It took a sledgehammer to the very foundations of the traditional company.
First off, the sheer speed of everything has gone into hyperdrive. A company's competitive advantage used to last for decades. Now, you're lucky if it lasts a few years, maybe even just a few months. Today's market leaders can become tomorrow's cautionary tales faster than ever.
Second, the power has completely shifted. It used to be that companies held all the cards. Now, because of the internet, information is everywhere. We, the consumers, have endless choice and a massive voice. The customer isn't just king anymore. They're practically co-running the kingdom.
And finally, those big walls that used to protect established industries have just crumbled. I mean, think about it. A company like Uber pops up out of nowhere and completely turns the entire taxi industry on its head in just a handful of years. The next big disruptor, they could be coding in a dorm room right now. So, what's the bottom line here? It's pretty clear. The old top-down pyramid is just too slow, too stiff, and too disconnected to keep up. It's like trying to use a rotary phone in the age of the smartphone. It just doesn't work. This new world doesn't just need a software update. It needs a totally new operating system for how we work together. And that is where this incredible idea of self-organization comes into the picture. Okay, so what is it? At its heart, self-organization is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of having order dictated from the top down by a boss, what the source material calls other organization, order just sort of emerges from the bottom up. It's about teams and individuals creating structure based on a shared mission and a few simple rules, not a big, complicated instruction manual from the C-suite.
This image just shows the evolution perfectly. We're moving away from that rigid vertical ladder of the old hierarchy. The future is all about moving towards a dynamic, interconnected network, more like a web. It's a huge shift from just managing people to actually nurturing relationships and collaboration.
So I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but how does a company actually run without managers telling everyone what to do? Well, it's not chaos, not at all. It's just a different kind of order, one that's built on a really specific set of features and the right kind of environment.
So, according to the theory, any successful self-organizing system, whether it's an ant colony or a company, has a certain DNA. There are these 5 core characteristics that you see here that allow them to be so incredibly agile and tough without a central commander calling all the shots.
Let's just zoom in on 2 of the most game-changing ideas here. First, you've got distributed control. That basically means there's no single brain of the operation. Instead, intelligence and decision-making are spread all throughout the network.
And second, there's bottom-up change, which is this powerful idea that the biggest breakthroughs don't come from the boardroom, they come from the people on the front lines, closest to the real work.
But here's the thing. You can't just flip a switch and say, okay, we're self-organizing now. It doesn't work like that. You have to create the right kind of environment, the right soil for it to grow in. And the research points to these 4 essential conditions that you absolutely have to have.
Let's focus on 2 of the most critical ones. First, the system has to be open. It has to be constantly talking to the outside world, pulling in new information and adapting. A closed-off company is a dead company. And second, it has to be far from equilibrium. This sounds a bit weird, but it just means the system thrives on a bit of healthy chaos, on diversity, debate, and even competition. A system that's in perfect, static balance is a system that isn't growing.
Okay, enough theory. Let's see what this looks like in the real world. The story of the Thunder Robot gaming laptop, which came out of the giant Chinese appliance company Haier, is just a perfect example of this in action.
So picture this. Before Thunder Robot, Haier's laptop business was fine, nothing special. It wasn't a big strategic focus. But then, an employee named Li Ning, whose job was just to manage their sales page on an e-commerce site, he noticed a tiny signal in the data.
And what happens next is a classic self-organization playbook. Li Ning, the guy closest to the data, sees the opportunity. But instead of writing some memo that gets lost in a chain of approvals, he just forms a tiny self-managed team of 3 people. They didn't lock themselves in a lab, they went online and designed the product with their future customers. And the result? The first batch sold out in 21 minutes. Just wow.
And just look at the power of doing it this way. In just over a year, this little team didn't just sell a bunch of laptops. They built a passionate community of more than 1.3 million fans. I mean, think about it. A traditional top-down marketing department could only dream of results like that.
Now, the most important part of this story is that this wasn't a lucky accident. This was the result of a deliberate company-wide strategy. Haier has been systematically blowing up its old hierarchy. Their entire goal now is to encourage thousands of these small entrepreneurial teams, they call them makers, to go out and find their own niche markets, just like the Thunder Robot team did.
So this journey from the rigid pyramid to this dynamic living network leaves us with a really powerful question to ask ourselves. When you look at where you work, is it a place that's designed to control people and processes, or is it designed to unleash their creativity and their ability to adapt? The answer to that question might just tell you if it's an organization built for the past or one that's ready for the future.